Joined by Mr. Robin Black. Not one, but two UFC cards going down this weekend. Stockholm, Sweden, but we're going to focus on Halifax, Nova Scotia. Rory MacDonald, a tremendous talent. A lot of people believe he is going to be the future king at 170 pounds, but he's facing off against a very tough, very durable, very skilled, under-the-radar Tarek Saffiedine, who might not be able to finish Rory MacDonald, but could steal a split decision if he's active, if he's mobile, if he plays this game.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, you mean to tell me we get to watch fights all afternoon
Yeah.
Saturday and all night Saturday? Ah, that sucks. Why do we have to get to do that? But yeah, this is a good fight, man, and it's a tough one for Rory because, like you said, Tarek Saffiedine, you know, if you haven't been paying attention, or even if you have, but there is 7,000 fights all the time, this guy might be underneath your radar. And we've seen him win the Strikeforce belt. We've seen him look phenomenal in his UFC debut. We've seen him smash guys' legs. You know, we saw what happened to Eddie Alvarez this week when you get a beating onto that tissue of the leg, how it can slow you down. That's something he's going to look to be doing with Rory. Rory is a thoroughbred. He's mentally good. He's a devastatingly aggressive guy. He's got all the skills. He's got to be the favorite here. But man, Tarek Saffiedine sneaks in here and wins one of round 1 or 2. He's done 5 rounds before. He's a live dog.
What's great about this card is that we have a lot of experience with a lot of the guys on the card. Your guy, Elias Theodorou, Ultimate Fighter winner on this card. An interesting thing about this fight is I think it's a perfect fight for Elias. You look at his opponent, Bruno Santos, doesn't have a lot of finishes, so I think Elias's mentality is, okay, be able to survive against this guy and then make it rough. Look for the finish, get this guy into the later rounds, because you look at his body. We heard that Kung Lee tested positive for HGH, and I'm not saying anything about Bruno Santos, but just look at this dude's body.
Yeah, you might want to tire him out, and this is a good fight for Elias, but they're all tough at this stage. They're all tough. Elias won the Ultimate Fighter Nations. He's a handsome cat. He's funny and charming, and people love him, and some of them hate him, and that's what you want. You know, you want these guys. Brian Caraway's on this show, too.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate that guy. You want that kind of passion from fans, but you gotta win fights. Santos is a good fight for him because Santos is a grinder, try to wear you down over 3 rounds. Nobody's wearing down the pretty boy Elias here. So he'll want to win round 3, do damage in rounds 1 and 2. And Elias was very much a grinder as a fighter through his career, but he's a smart guy who's going and improving the other games, spent time in Thailand on the stand-up game. So he's definitely, you know, like I said, he's a natural star, but you got to win these fights.
We've called Mitch Gagnon's fights in the past. You've had the opportunity to train with Mitch Gagnon. A little bit of bad luck. This is his 3rd opponent going into this fight. I know he's so excited about getting into the cage. Is this a good thing to take an opponent on last minute's notice? Because you don't know what this guy's bringing to the table. This guy could have been training with killers over the last 2 months, waiting for his opportunity, and now I'm going to take it out on Mitch Gagnon.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. That's a challenge. That's a stressful thing for fighters, but it is not a stressful thing for Mitch Gagnon at all. He's exactly the right kind of fighter to deal with this kind of stuff. Mitch is one of these guys, if you're, we're in Canada, so hockey is something we tend to know something about. We don't know nothing about hockey, you and I, but we know about fighting. But this guy, Mark Messier, I'm told was once a great leader in the room. Mitch Gagnon is that guy in the gym. Mitch Gagnon is the first guy on the mats, the last guy off the mats. If somebody's getting tired, he'll turn to him. I was training with him when I was training for my fight, and I'm starting to wear down. I'm like, Coach, I'm wearing down. And, you know, and he's like, oh, when you wear down the fight, you're going to want to quit there too. Like he'll aggressively instill in you the right things because they're in him. He's the type of guy who could care less who they put in front of him. He's going to go in and do his job. He's good everywhere. Mitch Gagnon, he's going to have a great night. Chad
Laprise on the card. Darren Cruikshank takes on Anthony Njokuani.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We got to talk about this 135-pound tilt. You mentioned Brian Caraway. He's looking for, he wants a little respect. He says, you know, people don't realize how good I am. Well, he has an opportunity to take on a Sun Tzu, who is clearly legit. The guy has a victory over the current 135-pound champion on a 6-fight win streak. If Brian Caraway can manage a victory over a Sun Tzu, you have to expect he'll be a part of that title conversation.
Yeah, I think he'll be a part of it, but at the top, you got Cruz and Dillashaw, and we're all just Like we're salivating and losing our mind over this fight. So you're waiting in line no matter what. I don't tend to talk a lot about, you know, how guys, the drama and turning heel and all that kind of stuff. I don't care about it that much. But with Caraway, it is a factor of him. You know, I was talking to Joe Silva about Frank Mir. And Joe Silva, Frank Mir is one of his favorite people on earth. He knows Frank Mir to be just a great human being. But he said, you know, people are always like, that Frank Mir is a jerk. And he said, the reason you know Frank Mir is a good dude is because the choices he makes in his life and his motivations are really good. But the way people see him, sometimes they don't like him. Brian Caraway might be that kind of guy too. Brian Caraway could be the nicest guy on the planet, but some way that the audience reads this guy, they read him and they dislike him. So in Brian Caraway's case, make him dislike you, dude. Make everybody hate you. Just make them care about you. And I think he can. He's a fantastic grappler. He's dating a woman that half the audience wants to date. And, you know, if he can win this fight, he can do it impressively, and he takes that opportunity to make a few more people hate him, he'll be next in line.
Across the Atlantic, Stockholm, Sweden hosts UFC Fight Night. The main event, it's a good one. Ricky Story taking on submission master Gunnar Nelson, and I love this fight. Just the idea of, are we going to see what we anticipate to be a future star from Gunnar Nelson? Is he going to have his way, or is Ricky Story going to do what he's capable of doing? Grinding you down, taking a beating, and managing to get a victory.
Yeah, this fight is excellent. And again, same conversation with Joe Silva. He was talking about the fact, he's like, hey man, in our game, the way we approach it, you don't go and build guys up with easy fights. Let's find out if you're the real thing. And this is the one where we're going to find out if Gunnar Nelson's the real thing, man.
Do you anticipate Gunnar Nelson is going to take this fight down to the ground, considering we all know how good he is on the canvas, or we also know that he has a karate background? Is he going to test the water standing?
You know what? Rick Story probably gets to decide where this one happens. So Gunnar Nelson has to be ready for everything. Rick Story will dictate where this fight goes down. This is a great fight.
That does it for 3 rounds. After the break, we'll send it over to The Shift, as well as this week's viral video.